Welcome back to Pulse of the Planet, bringing you the latest news from around the world. Ever wonder why some things cost more than you expect? Sometimes, the price tag on your favorite products can be a real surprise, leaving you to wonder what's driving up the cost. Beyond shop markups and fuel costs, there's a hidden factor: tariffs. These are often overlooked, but they play a major role in shaping the prices you see every day. A tariff is a tax placed by governments on imported goods, a fee for bringing products across borders. It's a way for countries to control the flow of goods and protect their own industries. This tax quietly raises the price of countless items, shaping what we buy without us noticing. Even if you're not aware of it, tariffs are working behind the scenes. For example, a smartwatch made abroad might seem cheap to produce, but tariffs inflate its price before it hits the shelf. That extra cost is often passed on to you, the consumer. The goal? Make foreign products pricier, giving local goods a competitive edge. This encourages shoppers to choose items made closer to home, supporting domestic businesses and jobs. Tariffs have existed for centuries, acting like an entrance fee for foreign goods. From ancient trade routes to modern ports, they've always influenced what's available in the marketplace. Importers pay the tariff, which increases their costs and ultimately the price you pay. It's a chain reaction that starts at the border and ends at the checkout counter. So next time you see a high price tag, remember, tariffs are part of the story. They're one of the invisible forces shaping your shopping experience. They're silent architects of the marketplace, influencing what ends up in your home. Every product's journey is affected by these hidden costs. Understanding tariffs helps reveal the true cost behind everyday purchases, giving you a clearer picture of why you pay what you do. Let's follow a product's journey from the manufacturer to the consumer, to see how tariffs drive up prices and affect the entire supply chain. Imagine a UK company importing a washing machine from the US for £300. This initial cost is just the beginning. A 10% tariff means they pay £30 extra, raising their cost to £330 before even considering shipping or marketing expenses. The importer then adds a markup to cover their costs and profit, selling to a retailer for £400. The retailer in turn adds their own costs, including overhead and profit margin, and suddenly, you're paying £499 for the same washing machine. Without the tariff, the price might be significantly lower, around £460 or £470. This pattern repeats for millions of products. The tariff is applied at the start, but its effect snowballs as each business in the supply chain adds their margin. The consumer doesn't pay the tariff directly, but it's hidden in the final price they see at the store. That's why economists often say that domestic consumers bear the real burden of tariffs, not the foreign exporters. The exporting country doesn't pay, the importer does, and then passes this cost on to the next link in the chain. It's a chain reaction. One tariff ripples through the entire supply chain, affecting every step along the way. The result? Higher prices for everyone, all triggered by a single tax at the border, impacting everyday life. Tariffs are invisible to the average shopper, but their impact is felt everywhere, from the store shelves to your wallet. Take trainers, designed in the West, made in Asia to save costs. These factories operate with lower labor costs and often benefit from economies of scale, producing large quantities efficiently. When they're shipped to the UK, a tariff is added, raising the wholesale price. This tariff is a tax imposed on imports intended to protect domestic industries. For example, a shoe costing £15 to make might cost £18 after shipping, but a 12% tariff bumps it to over £20 before profit. This initial increase sets the stage for further markups. That small increase sets a higher baseline for every markup, turning a £15 shoe into an £80 retail item. Retailers add their own margins, and VAT further inflates the price. Tariffs also affect your choices. They can limit the variety of shoes available in stores, as retailers may opt to stock fewer foreign brands. Italian shoes, from within the EU, avoid tariffs, making them more competitively priced, while Brazilian shoes face them, making the latter more expensive even if they're cheaper to produce. This discrepancy can be confusing for consumers. This level playing field is meant to protect local industries, but it limits consumer choice and raises prices. Consumers often end up paying more for less variety. Retailers may stock fewer foreign shoes, shrinking variety. This can lead to a less diverse market where consumers have fewer options to choose from. Tariffs act as an invisible hand, guiding what you buy, not always for quality, but because of policy. This can distort the market and consumer preferences. You pay more, not for better goods, but due to government intervention. This intervention can sometimes feel like an unfair burden on the consumer. The result: less choice, higher prices, and a market shaped by invisible rules. These rules often prioritize economic policies over consumer satisfaction. Tariffs quietly influence every step from factory to your feet. They are an unseen force that shapes the entire journey of your shoes. Why do governments impose tariffs? Two main reasons: to protect domestic industries and to raise revenue. Protectionism shields local businesses from cheaper foreign competition, like taxing imported steel to help local mills. The trade-off: higher prices for everyone to save jobs in one sector. Politically, it's powerful, especially where one industry dominates a region. Tariffs also raise money. Before income tax, they were a key revenue source, easily collected at ports. Today, they still fund public services, though less than before. But if tariffs are too high, imports stop and revenue drops. Too low, and protection is weak. Policymakers constantly juggle protecting jobs, raising money, and keeping prices fair. Tariffs aim to protect jobs and raise money, but the effects ripple far beyond. A tariff on steel, for example, raises costs for car makers and builders, threatening more jobs than it saves. Higher input costs can push companies to relocate or raise prices, hurting competitiveness. Protectionism can also stifle innovation. Without foreign competition, local firms have less incentive to improve. Over time, this leads to stagnation and falling behind global peers. Tariffs hit low-income families hardest, as price hikes on essentials eat up more of their budget. The policy meant to help workers can end up making life harder for them. Tariffs are a blunt tool, often with unintended and unequal consequences. After the world moved toward free trade, lowering tariffs for shared prosperity. Organizations like the WTO were created to manage this system. Recently, though, tariffs have made a comeback, most notably under President Trump in 2018. The US imposed sweeping tariffs on Chinese goods and others, aiming to pressure trade partners and revive domestic manufacturing. Allies like Canada and the EU were also hit, sparking retaliation and a trade war. Global supply chains were thrown into chaos, raising costs for businesses and consumers. Supporters said tariffs corrected unfair trade. Critics saw them as a tax on Americans and a drag on the global economy. The debate raged: protect jobs or keep prices low. The result was uncertainty, higher costs, and strained international relations. Tariffs, once rare, became a central and controversial policy tool again. In the US, who controls tariffs? The Constitution gives Congress the power, but over time, much of it shifted to the president. After the disastrous Smoot-Hawley tariff deepened the Great Depression, Congress let the president act more swiftly on trade. Laws like the Trade Expansion Act of 1962 and the Trade Act of 1974 gave the executive branch authority to impose tariffs for national security or unfair trade. This paved the way for recent presidential tariff actions, sometimes without Congress's direct approval. Critics argue this stretches executive power and sidesteps democratic oversight. Some lawmakers want to reclaim control, proposing laws to require congressional approval for major tariffs. The struggle over who decides tariffs is a battle over economic power and accountability. Tariffs rarely go unanswered. When one country imposes them, others retaliate, sparking trade wars. If the UK taxes US cars, the US might tax British whiskey or services in return. This tit-for-tat escalation creates uncertainty for businesses and can wipe out years of market building overnight. Companies may absorb costs, seek new markets, or relocate production to dodge tariffs. Trade wars disrupt global supply chains, affecting even countries not directly involved. A dispute between the US and China can snarl production for a German carmaker using Chinese parts in America. Widespread tariffs also weaken institutions like the WTO, making it harder to resolve disputes peacefully. As trust erodes, cooperation on bigger issues like climate change becomes tougher. Trade wars start with taxes, but their fallout spreads everywhere. The global economy is too connected for anyone to be truly insulated. The tariff debate boils down to a core question: protect local jobs or keep goods affordable. Protectionists argue higher prices are worth it to save industries and ensure national security. Free trade advocates say open markets mean lower prices, more choice, and innovation. Every policy creates winners and losers. A tariff might save a factory job but raise costs for families elsewhere. The benefits and burdens are spread unevenly. Ultimately, it's about values. Do we prioritize job security or consumer choice? There's no universal answer. Each country and moment is different. But the invisible costs of tariffs are real, shaping every purchase we make. Understanding them is key to making informed decisions as citizens. Tariffs may be hidden, but their impact is everywhere.